Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Look here, let me ask you a question. I know we all say that, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. But here's the thing. What if circumstances dictated, what was going on in your life to the point to where you were about to be put out of your house, or you were going to lose your car, or you were trying to pay some kind of bill that if it didn't get paid, it was going to cause some other kind of major disruption in your life? Would you do whatever you had to do to get the money? Would you? I know. What if you did it and nobody knew about it? Would that make a difference? You know what I'm saying? Would that make a difference? Well, I'm going to tell you a story about somebody that felt the same way as you do. If you're one of those people that say, I ain't doing it regardless, doing something illegal, I'm going to tell you a story about somebody just like that thought just like that, right? And you're going to be surprised about this story, right? So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Check it out, y'all. Check this out. I had a partner of mine that he wasn't affiliated. He wasn't affiliated. I did have a lot of friends that, in the penitentiary. Well, I call them friends today. I didn't know them when I was growing up that were not affiliated. Everybody that I associated with, didn't get down like that, right? But I had a good friend, man. This guy, his story was one of those unfortunate stories, man, that really, that make you think about life and how you take things for granted and all of those types of things, right? Check this out. Let me tell you about it. His mother and father had been married for about 15 years, he told me, right? And after about 15 years of marriage, his mother passes away, okay? His mother passes away. His father's raising him, paying for him to go to college and everything, right? And while, my partner was in college, his father meets another woman. And they get married, and she becomes his stepmother. And he said they had a decent relationship. He said, he was almost grown, so it wasn't like she really just did a lot of things for him as a kid or anything. He didn't even know her when they were kids. Like I say, his mother was there for the majority of his young life. Now, when he was off in college, he made a lot of bad decisions. And he got caught driving drunk one time and got in trouble. And then the next time he was driving drunk, he ran over somebody. He didn't kill him, but he hurt him real bad and put him in a wheelchair. For a long time. They thought that this young lady was never going to walk again. But she miraculously, by God's grace, ended up walking again. It took a long time, but she ended up walking again. But as a result of that accident, he ended up in prison. Now, while he's in prison, this is where the story gets tricky. While he's in prison, he's got an 8-year sentence for assault with a deadly weapon. Okay? The car is the deadly weapon. While he's in prison, his father gets really, really sick. I'm talking about really, really sick. They diagnosed him with some type of cancer. I wish I knew what it was right now, but I can't remember right now, but I remember it being cancer, right? And I'm telling you, it was gruesome on the family finances. It broke them down. Now, his father and the stepmother had been holding him down. The whole time he went to trial, they were there. The whole time, the few little years that he's been in prison at this point, they've had him. They've been holding him down. But suddenly, all of the support stops. It's hard for him to catch him and talk to him because, she's at the hospital most of the time when he's getting his treatment. So they can't sit and talk with him a lot. He understands that. He's not tripping at all about any of that. You know what I mean? Because that's just how life is. When things are going on at the house, you got to adapt and adjust and respect it, especially something like this, right? So while things were going on at the house and the family, you know what I'm saying, was trying to be there for his father, he felt neglected. So, as a lot of addicts do, he was an alcoholic and he was working on it. He was doing fine when everything was fine. But all of this stuff that was going on in his family's life at home triggered it. And he started to relapse. But he couldn't get liquor like he could on the streets. So he turned to drugs. And he developed a very bad drug problem. And he got in debt. And he owed quite a bit of money to a lot of people. And he came to me one time, and I'll never forget the conversation when he came to me. I've seen a lot of people that were addicts come to you, and then they try to pop it on you. They'll start crying and try to make you feel one way or the other so that you'll help them. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't mean it. It was just about getting from this particular situation to the next situation so that they can get them some more dope. And I understood that. I didn't get mad at them. I get it. Totally get it. You know what I'm saying? I've never been addicted to anything. I had a problem with salt, but I can't say that that's the same thing. But the point I'm making is this. When a person is going through some struggles and they get triggered like he was, and he got out there. You know what I'm saying? He was always hoping that his father got better and then everything would go back to normal and then he'd be able to pay his bills. But you can't pay. Look here, dope in here costs almost double what it would cost you on the street. So there's no way he was going to get out of the debt. No way. They weren't going to let him. And once they got him in the hole, they were going to keep him in the hole. And there's a lot of dirty games that go with being in the hole around here. I'm telling you. A whole lot of dirty games. They get you in the hole. They end up having you pimp yourself out, washing clothes, washing drawers, y'all. You understand what I'm saying? All of those types of things, right? So what happened with him was this. He got beat up a few times. He came to me and he asked me for some help. So I went around and I'm talking to everybody, trying to persuade them not to beat him up no more, this, that, and the third. Now, I didn't come out of my pocket. You know what I'm saying? Because I know how this game goes. But I understood his situation, right? And I'm trying to explain to them, look, man, just don't give him nothing else. Cut him out. You keep giving it to him. He's showing you he can't pay. So why you keep giving it to him? You backwards hustling. You know what I'm saying? You got to make them understand that way. They don't care nothing about his feelings and all this and that. You got to make them care about that money in a way that, like, if I keep doing this, I'm going to get deeper in the hole. I can't get blood from a turnip. Cut him off. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't no, you can't pimp him out like that. You feel me? Ain't nobody paying that much for no tail. You understand? That's just what it is. So you're not going to get your money back. He owed him a few $100, probably about $600 or $700. That's a lot in here. It's a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because you're only making 50 cents an hour in here, so $600 is a lot of money. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, he couldn't pay it. So one day, his stepmom, trying to balance the time between taking care of her husband, his father, and coming to visit him, because Pops can't get on the road like that no more, because that chemo messes with your immune system, and radiation and stuff messes with your immune system, so they don't want him out like that. You feel what I'm saying? They want him to stay at home in that bubble so that they can make sure that he recovers fully, right? So she comes to visit him, and she's talking to him, and he's explaining to her, what happened to him, and he's being honest about, all the stress and what was going on with his dad. It made him go try some drugs, and he tried it, and he got back out there. And then when he got back out there, he got in the hole. He's needing money. And she's feeling sorry for him, and she's telling him everything is going to work out, but they just don't have it like that right now. You understand what I'm saying? But here's the thing. Stepmom has always known people that smoke and sell weed. She had a past. Good people. She just knew people that sold weed. She didn't deal with them like that. She moved past that. But she's not slow to the game. She's not slow. And she loves her stepson. She loves her husband. And she understands what he's up against. She understands what he's up against. And she wants to do whatever she can to help him. So she thinks in her mind that Well, maybe if I just get something for him, you know what I'm saying, everything will be okay. Maybe this will work out for him. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, she didn't want to talk to him about that because she understood, you know what I'm saying, because of some of the friends that she had in her life. When you own those drugs like that, you're going to run your mouth. So she didn't say one word to him about what she was thinking about doing for him. Okay? So the visit's over with. She's riding home. She's trying to think, how can I do this to help him? You see? So before she gets home, she calls up one of her old friends. And she tells him, she said, look, do you still have this and that and that and this? And he was like, yeah. She said, can I get this? And he was like, yeah, what you got going on? She wouldn't tell him that. You know what I'm saying? She just said, I'm just trying to get some weed to smoke. You feel what I'm saying? To relax my nerves. You know, he knew about what she was going through with her husband and the cancer and all this and that. So he understood. So he got you know what I'm saying, a zip. Now, when she got the zip, she had never, ever in life contemplated taking no drugs into no prison. Never. She never saw herself in a situation like that. But she knew, based off of stories that she had heard years ago, what happens to people in prison. What happens to people when they can't pay their bills. What happens if any life-changing event takes place and you need some money. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the penitentiary. What would you do for your child? What would you do for your child? Like I said at the beginning of the show, what if something happened and you needed to pay the rent? What if something happened and you needed to pay the car note? Or some illness? Or somebody in prison that you love was in danger? What would you do? Because calling the police wasn't going to stop nothing. It wasn't going to get her son saved. Might get him taken away, but then they're not going to release him from prison, so he would be in danger no matter where he went. That's how this environment works. So when she got the weed, she went on home to the house. She smoked the joint out of it herself on the back porch while her husband was in the house asleep. And it was good. It was some good stuff. So she took the rest and she wrapped it up. She wrapped it up. She knew how she had to do it. And she made a bomb. She knew the stories, but she had never done anything like that. So she put a condom on it, and she practiced putting it in her. She slid it in herself, just to make sure it would work, make sure it wouldn't come out. And it did. So she took it out, took the condom off, put it on the shelf, and she waited until the next time that she would go visit him. She didn't tell her husband what she was doing, but she knew that he would be able to make enough money to get out of debt with what she was going to take him if he did it right. And this is her stepson, not her biological son. But she knew she needed to help him. She knew she needed to help him. So visitation came. She refixes it, you know what I'm saying, so she can get it up in her. She goes to visit. Nobody is aware of what she's doing whatsoever. If she gets caught, she goes to jail. Her husband is at the house by himself, where the nurse is there. But I'm talking about basically, if she's not there, he's by himself. So if she gets caught, then who's going to take care of him? She's not thinking of any of that. What she's thinking of is that I love my husband, I love my son, and this is making sense to her. So when she gets there, she's sitting at the table, she's talking to him and all this and that, and she tells him, if I brought you something, she's not telling him I got some. She said, but if I brought you something, would you have a way of getting it back? And he looks at her, and he was like, I wouldn't ask you to do anything like that. I wouldn't want you to do anything like that. She said, and I appreciate that, but you need to get out of debt. So if I did do it, do you think you could get it back? And he's like, yeah, I think I could get it back. She said, well, okay then. I got something for you right now. I'm going to go to the restroom and I'm going to get it out. And then I'm going to give it to you. And while he was listening to her say this, something happened on the inside of him. And he sat there and he's staring at her and he started to cry. And he put his head down on the desk and he cried. Now, the officers are watching because they watch everything. Anything unusual, I'm telling you, they are on it. Don't think these folks are not paying attention, okay? But they saw this and they come over to the table. They said, is everything okay? And he raises his head up and he says, yes, because they were aware that his father was sick and they thought that she had delivered some bad news and they wanted to make sure he was okay. He said, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm fine. They go back. Now, she's a little spooked because now they might be watching closer, right? So he tells her, he says, look, I really appreciate you thinking enough of me to do this, but I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to go into the restroom. I don't want you to take that. I don't want you to take that back home. And as he held her hand, and they didn't even interfere. The officers didn't tell him to not do it because we can't hold hands long like that, y'all. It don't matter if you're a parent, girlfriend, what a child, none of that. Unless they're young kids. You feel me? They'll let you console a young child. But they don't let you hold hands like that. They think everything is inappropriate. They don't want you to have that type of human contact for too long. They think you're up to something. So he held her hand and he told her, he said, I'm sorry for putting you and my dad through this, especially now. And he told her, I'm sorry that I made you think that you needed to do this, to go to this extreme to help me. I've been selfish, and I'm sorry. And he said, take that back out. He said, I'm going to figure this out. And she cried, and she cried, and she cried. And she told him, look, I love you like my son. I can't replace your mother, but I love you like my son. And I will do anything to help you. And then she said, don't you tell your daddy what I did. And he promised her that he would never tell his pops what she did. And he never did, according to what he told me anyway. So when she left, she said when he talked to her, he told me that she had to, because he was talking to her on the way home, she had to stop 2 or 3 times because she was just crying. She was just crying because she felt like he might be disappointed in her, that he might lose respect for her, but it was the direct opposite. He saw her in a totally different way. And her act of kindness to him, and I know some of y'all might trip, man, about it being drugs and what she potentially sacrificed, because if she would have got caught, her husband would have been left by himself, so on and so forth. But that's not what happened, okay? What happened was she made a bad decision for the right reasons. You feel what I'm saying? And he made the right decision for all the right reasons not to accept that type of help. You understand? And it changed him. And he went back into that penitentiary and he made everybody that he owed money deals away, figuring out ways he could pay. I gave him a few chips. I wouldn't give him a lot because, again, the situation is what it is. You feel what I'm saying? But I would give him a little bit to let him go work, and he would bring the money back, and then I would go take it and I would pay them. And he eventually, it took him a minute, he eventually got out of debt, but he stopped getting high. He stopped getting high. But he stopped getting high because his stepmother showed him an unconditional love. And it made him feel responsible again. And it changed him. It changed him. So think about that, y'all. What would you do for somebody in a bad situation? And would you do the right thing? Always consider when you're doing something to help somebody, think about how it's going to make them feel. Do something that's virtuous that will help that person, intentional or not. And I wish you would be intentional about what you're thinking about trying to help somebody with. But intentional or not, try to figure out before you decide to do A or B, is this going to be something that can empower this person, encourage this person? You feel what I'm saying? And that's what I'm going to leave you with, right? But let me say this before I go. Rivals is out. It's available on Amazon.com. Go to Amazon.com, type in Rivals by Joe Thomas Baker Jr. and the Third, and it'll pop up. Okay? Now let me tell you what Rivals is all about for those of you that may not even be aware of the episodes that I have about it. Okay? Rivals is a heart-wrenching and deeply introspective book that embarks on an extraordinary journey that explores the entangled lives of individuals trapped in the unforgiving grip of generational gang violence, set against a backdrop of crime-ridden streets, shattered dreams, and the haunting consequences of past actions. This compelling narrative delves into the profound depths of human emotion, revealing the complexities of love, loss, and the enduring pursuit of redemption. Now, let me read an excerpt out of the book for you so that you can get a little taste of what this book is about, right? It's going to take you on a journey. Let me read a little bit to you, right? Let me see. Where do I want to start? Because there's so much good stuff in here. Okay, yeah, let's read this. If you think this was too much, I assume you'll find it too extreme for 8-year-old me witnessing my pops shoot the brains out of a guy who couldn't pay his debt. And when Pops caught me looking, he told me to go back inside. That night, I could not forget the scenes I witnessed, the coldness on my Pop's face as he mercilessly pulled the trigger without so much as a second thought really got to me. That night, I had nightmares about the man being shot in the head. After that, I was careful around my father. It wasn't like I was afraid of him, but the incident gave me a fairly good idea that he was not the kind to be messed with. He wasn't particularly close with me. He was the same with me as he was with everyone else. I remember after he told me to go inside, he came back 5 minutes later after cleaning the blood splatters from his face and throwing the gun on the sofa. He called for my mom to set the table, and that was it. No regret, no remorse. He had just killed a person. Is that normal? That's just a little taste of what you're going to get when you read this book. Just a little taste. And it's going to take you on a journey that I don't believe you'll ever find anywhere else. This is not a game, y'all. I want to give you a little insight into the lives of individuals that come from this. Everybody doesn't come from the white picket fence. Everybody doesn't come from the same background as far as morals and integrity. We assume that because we have this ideal of how everybody in America is raised. But it's not like that. If it were like that, we wouldn't have the problems that we have. Okay? We are not equally taught the same things. We're not. To believe that is foolish because people do what they do based off of their experiences. Okay? But I'm going to leave you with that. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. Hold on before I go. Again, go to Amazon and get that thing. It's $20. My goal this month, I'm trying to sell 100 books, y'all. Please help me get to 100 books this month. Come on now. We can do this. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I say peace, y'all.